Welcome, welcome back to Crafting a Meaningful Life. I'm Mary Crafts, and every week when I come to you, I think, what do I get to talk about this week? Who's going to be my guest? What am I going to learn? What am I going to teach? What are we going to provide for people that they're looking for? And that's how I kind of think through my guests when people ask me, can I be on your podcast? And some I just reach out to them and say, can you be on my podcast? That would be so awesome. And I think that was the case with Brooke. I was so enamored with you, Brooke, and who you are and what you've accomplished at such a young age. And I thought, wow, wouldn't it be great to share with my listeners your story? Because it is truly the story that inspires. I was recently at a gala this last weekend for Encircle, Utah, which is a group of houses that give safe place for the youth of the LGBTQ community. And it's one thing to know of them and want to help and support. It's another thing to sit face to face with them and hear their stories and feel their pain. And that's why I like to do this as a video presentation, like with Brooke here today, not an audio, because I want you to look at her face to face. And I want you to hear her story. And I want you to feel what it was like to walk through life and to now be on this trajectory and what that looks like. And so that's what the power of the story is. So welcome, Brooke. Nice to have you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the wonderful introduction. I really appreciate it. I'm excited to be here.
Well, everybody has a story. And you particularly have one because there's so many pieces of it. I'm not quite sure where I want to start. So let's start with who Brooke is and a little bit about what you do. And then we're going
Okay.
to move into who you are.
All right.
So
I'd love that.
let's let everybody know about you first.
Okay. So I'm Brooke Leone. I'm from Arizona. I moved here to Utah about a couple years ago, back in the fall of 2016. I first started here. Uh, I first moved to come to school, and then I started my career off as an executive assistant. And through a series of events, I helped that company, which was a visual augmentation company, get acquired by Snapchat, and then ended up going through the process of being a chief of staff at several other different companies moving forward. And throughout that process as well, I've started a women's organization group that's called Utah for the Girls, and I'm on the board for a nonprofit that's called Care Cuts, where we help those that are homeless or refugees in the Salt Lake City community have different hygiene stations to check their teeth, do their hair, nails, provide clothing, and we partner with a lot of different companies like Discover Card and Kohl's to give them gift cards to be able to go shopping at these different facilities. And anyway, just help take care of their needs. They're just very basic needs that I feel like we take for granted. And
I think that that's one of the things I was most taken by, Brooke, was this idea that you would just go out into these communities and set up these stations. Some of them anticipated you coming, but most of them were like, what's happening here? And you washed their hair and just gave them love through touch and makeup and cleaned their fingernails and just little things like that. The touch of love that can be given and felt. That takes a special person. It's one thing for a person to give money to that. It's another thing to be on the front lines and right there experiencing it. Tell me more about how you felt and what was their reception.
um, we've had so many different beautiful experiences, and people that have come to our event several times, and it's so beautiful to see the process um, of where they came from and then where they are today. A lot of individuals that we primarily focus on are children, and I feel like every time that they come and receive our services, they it feels like it's I remember one time I was sitting with this little girl and I was just doing her nails, and we had all these different stations going on. Like I said, we partner with different companies to help them go shopping and give them new clothes and backpacks and bedding and things like that. And when I'm sitting there with her and I'm talking to her about like, oh my gosh, so like how's your day been? And what's been your favorite thing so far? She just looks at me, she's like, honestly, just getting my nails done. And I'm like, oh wow, like, are you like serious? I was so taken back because I thought that she would be so excited about the new toy she just got or the new clothing that she just got. But I think you're right when it comes to those interactions and feeling loved and seen and appreciated. I feel like that carries more weight and value than the more materialistic things. And it just really gave me a really good perspective as to the things that I have that are big blessings in my own life and the relationships I have. And I think that it's it's a really humbling experience to be able to watch these different individuals in their circumstances and the gratitude and love that they feel as we're offering these services. Yeah, it's such a really humbling experience, and it's honestly so beautiful. And it, I don't know, it just fills your heart so much with love, and it's an opportunity I'm really grateful for that I get to experience.
And in that kind of invisible population within our state or our world, that's one of the things they lack the most is human touch. I remember 2 times I've been to Africa to serve. And the first time I seemed to go with a group that was like, okay, thanks, eat that food and do it. And there was no touchy feely. And I just was like kneeling down, holding, and that. And this little girl had been yelled at by her mom because she didn't want her over by me. She was afraid I might take her because that's one of the things that happens there. And so she ran away. And then so I walked away and then I looked back at her and she just ran right back to me and let me scoop her up in my arms and hold her. And I think that that's a gift when you can feel safe enough in your own skin to allow others to feel beautiful in theirs. So thank you for that wonderful service. But aside from this great humanitarian piece that you offered, you like are kind of a mover and shaker in the business world.
I
So
am.
tell me a little bit about that.
Um, so like I mentioned with this women's organization and with my background as chief of staff, I got about a little more than half a year ago, I was like, okay, I think I'm done with corporate. I am so excited about women in the community, and I've been involved with uh, in the business community, especially primarily towards women. And so I go out to a lot of different business women events, and I've seen so much value in helping them grow. Like in my women's organization, creating different opportunities where I can have different experts teach them about very basic things. It's improved their lives, but with my expertise in strategic planning and helping with mergers and acquisitions and creating roadmaps for these executives so they can fulfill their roles as being the visionaries and me being the okay, cool, these are the steps that we need to take and this is the roadmap we need to create in order for you to hit your goals. And I have a couple different services that I offer where I help them about recreating, like reorganizing their company or revenue optimization or strategic planning. And when I help them with these specific things, that really helps them in their like be the visionary and me just being like, okay, cool, these are the things that we need to do. And it's so empowering, especially the reason why I've wanted to primarily focus on women is because I understand them better and I know them the most and I've interacted with them on so many different levels that I wanted to combine both my expertise in strategic planning and understanding women and coach women executives in this space and just helping them with their goals. And it's, yeah, it's so exciting, especially because I feel like a light switch flips on when they hit their goals, and they feel empowered and they feel confident and they feel like what they're doing is making a difference. And I feel like we all feel that inside this, but I feel like women in particularly have a superpower inside of them that is just so beautiful. And I feel like we're I'm so biased, but I just feel like women are such beautiful creatures. And once you help them with their goals, or once they get to like this special point, they just take off. And it's the most beautiful thing to see. And being able to continually help them just kind of reach their full potential in a way, it's exciting to be a part of.
Yes. You know, having been a CEO and broke through the glass ceiling in Utah County as the first woman CEO ever, okay, I get that. But the way I was able to do it is different than the path you're paving. For me, I realized the only way to achieve that at that time in the 1980s in Utah was to have my own company. And then I could make it happen and build my organization, keep my own vision, and head off, which I did. But not every woman is going to be an entrepreneur, and not every woman is going to start her own company. Now I feel like that the glass ceiling is really crackling and it's like getting ready to just implode. Um, Utah, as you know, has some of the worst stats in the nation for women pay, women management positions, women this, women that. We're changing that thanks to Dr. Susan Matson and all of her stuff and everyone else and people like you. We're actually changing that. But you used a word that I think is so critical for us to talk about. You said follow their vision, to be a visionary. So as you look at the business world, the corporate world, and I kind of hesitate to separate the two because I see it more as the world, our culture, our society, and I don't like to see this line between them. But as you look at this piece, what is the value of having women lead with vision?
Um, I feel like it kind of breaks that glass ceiling that we kind of talked about earlier, where it feels like I feel like they gain so much more confidence and empowerment when they can fully just really hone in onto their vision, because I feel like they're able to allow themselves to see different pain points or holes in their business that they weren't able to see before. And that's kind of what I love helping guide them see, and make sure that they can feel like I've got this, I can do this, and just feel empowered in what they're doing. Because I feel like when when you let them really just hone into their vision, I feel like they are able to be like hit their full capacity and reach their full potential in the way that that's my huge goal. That's my number one goal for them to do, is to feel like they're completely themselves and feeling like they can reach their goals and they can hit their visions, and just giving them the right tools to do so. And so I feel like it really allows them to truly be themselves.
Do you think there's a difference between a male's vision and approach and a female's vision and approach? Or is it just
Um,
that women have not been able to express it as much? Or is there really a
I
difference?
Yeah, I feel like there's been a hesitation, especially on the women's side of things, of feeling like I feel like more particularly in Utah. There's a couple different executives I've met that have started their companies and have started their career in Microsoft, and they've in or in other different companies, and they came to Utah and they're like, oh man, like I didn't see the hesitation as much in my own career as I did seeing other women here. I've also worked with male executives as well, and I feel like they're just the way that they approach things is they're I feel like more risk takers, where they're strategic in their own ways, but I feel like they're just like, okay, let's just get stuff done, which is great. But I feel like women are more thoughtful. Well, this is just based upon like my own experience and my own thoughts and perspective. But I feel like women are really thoughtful and they love to really think about what they're doing before they just like dive into it. And they love to look at the scope of things and be really strategic as to how they're moving forward. I think it's just different. And I do feel like that women have felt a huge hesitation just because of like how they've been received. And I feel like the corporate world and in different positions that they haven't been able to feel like they can really emerge into certain roles. And so I think personally for myself, when I'm mentoring and I'm coaching these women, I think helping them feel like, no, okay, like we've got your idea. I know you feel confident, but like, I know we can step this up a couple notches. And I know that like there's so much more inside you that we need to figure it out. And so it's going through like a series of questions to figure out like, okay, cool. Like, what do we need to do? What do we need to address? Like, where do you feel like you're struggling at? And then really breaking that barrier and being like, okay, cool. This is the direction that we need to go for your business and for you as an individual. I really try and take an approach where I help them as individuals and like in their business, just because, yeah, I love seeing them feeling empowered and being able to really dive in and feel comfortable in their own skin and feel confident in their
There's
decisions.
nothing like that. When you see a woman who is confident in who she is and able to sit in her own skin, she is so like a magnet. You can't help
Yeah.
but want to be around her and just like, hi. Well, I'm Mary. Who are you? Blah, blah, blah,
Hmm. Yeah.
because that is, um, it's still even now a novel thing in Utah. And I love to see what's happened, of course, in our state with all of this progress we've made. But the thing that I have found somewhat different in this female vision or empowerment, and this is not always the case, but I was in that generation as we fought to take our place. We thought the way to take our place was by tooth and nail and to allow, and this happened to my voice. This is how I know this happened because my voice used to be a lot higher. And the more I worked in the boardroom and with men, my voice got lower and lower and lower. So I sounded as important as a man. Isn't that crazy what we make up in our mind? And one day, and then I got far enough in my career that I got to sit on a lot of different local boards, the hospital board, bank board, different things like that, university boards. And I would always wonder, what do I have to offer here? There's all these smart people that know way more about this than I do. So I would try and offer my two bits from the space of just owning my knowledge, not trying to be more than or less than. And one day I just said, I don't really know anything about the hospital system. I don't know any of these terms you're using. I need a cheat sheet that tells me, I don't even know what this word NICU is. I mean, I was just like totally
Uh-huh.
such a novice. And they said, well, we're going to get your cheat sheet. And I said, I don't even know the value of my being here. And one of the board members said, the value of you being here, Mary, is your eyes. That we get to see the world through your eyes, no one else's, through your heart, through your vision. And I think that's the greatest gift that we can bring as women and as visionaries is just ourselves, because we hold so much vision. When one day when they were discussing whether they should take out the hospital privileges of this one doctor, and I was just like, what? I could hardly stay in my seat. I just wanted to start screaming because he was treating women, nurses, with such disdain. I said, that'd be like lining up those nurses right here and slapping each one of them in the face. Could you want me to bring them in here and you tell them, no, this doctor gets his privileges? And the moment they saw it through my eyes, then of course we got a unanimous vote. you know, but I'm thinking that you have seen that a lot in yours, that that the women that have them carry the biggest strengths are those that are true to their own vision and not trying to copy what they think everyone else thinks they should be.
Yeah, I mean, there's that really famous quote that goes like, well-behaved women hardly ever made history." And I believe it. I believe it. I feel like women that own who they are and stand up for what's right, yeah, I feel like they can move mountains, and it's beautiful to watch women do that.
Brooke, when you stop and think about your life and crafting a meaningful life for you, well, how do you go about that? What's out there in front of you so that you know when you get to be age 50, you're going to like, okay. And then when you're 70, you're like, oh yeah. You know, how are you going about that?
Well, if I'm being honest, so I didn't grow up in the healthiest home, and I remember um, when I was younger, I understood my environment and what was going on and that it wasn't right. And so for me, every single day, I look at myself in the mirror and say, you get to choose what your environment looks not like, not what other people try and tell you it is. And so every single day, I'd look in the mirror and I'd be like, I'm gonna have a good day today, and I'm gonna choose who I want to be. And so I started making goals in my life to um, live life on a deeper plane and trying to understand what healthy looked like, because that's not something that was in my home. And so
Yeah.
I started thinking about, what do I want in the future? And I started to create a very goal oriented mind and thinking about, okay, cool, what do I want future Brooke to look like? What do I want my future family to look like? And I started learning from different mentors that you become who you surround your friends with. And so for me, I was like, okay, cool. Like, do I want to go to school? And college at the time wasn't a priority for me. Nobody in my family had graduated college. And I made sure I had good friends, and my friends started talking about scholarships to go to college. And for me, I was like, scholarships for college, like, wow, I guess I never really thought about college. And so I started applying for scholarships just like they were, and I ended up going to school, and I continued to be like, okay, cool, who do I need to surround myself with now? Well, I want to make sure I get good grades. I want to make sure that I'm living a healthy lifestyle and I'm making good decisions. And so I'd
Wow.
look for kids that were the best of the best, and I would try and be friends, and I would learn from them, and I'd learn about their different backgrounds and what was healthy. And through that process of going to school and learning about different people, I was able to, it was really prominent to see like, oh no, this in my home, like I thought this was not really healthy, but this was seriously not healthy. And so throughout my life, I've always been a goal setter, and I've always been like, what do I need to figure out? What's the healthiest thing to do? And so for me, progression is the biggest number one thing in my life, and just being daring enough to just do it, because I didn't have an example like who to look to when I was doing these things. And so for me, I always have to just be continually learning, figuring out who's the best, who resonates well with my soul, because I believe that your intuition is so strong. And that's something that I've had to learn myself, is to really hone in on that, because I know I'm smart, and and I know that I'm capable, and I know that I'm able to, and I believe this in anybody. I believe that anybody can become who they vision that they want to be. I believe it 100%. It's just about, what are you doing today
Yeah.
to make those baby steps to do it? And it's just learning from people that are doing it and getting yourself out there, being in place, like going to events, networking with people, and just asking questions. I think that's, so for me, I know if I'm 70, 80, or however old I am, like I know once I hit that age, if I look back and I'm like, I know I tried the best I could, I followed my intuition, and I was continually learning and progressing, I'm going to be like, that's 10 times better as me being in a situation. Because I've looked back at my life so many times and I'm like, I could have been the girl that got pregnant in her teens and had a very different lifestyle than I have today. I know it. I know that would have been me if I just didn't look at myself and was like, no, Brooke, you can do this. Like, you can be anything that you want to be. And so, I mean, everybody's journey is different, but I know that if you've got a vision or if you've got a dream or there's something somewhere you want to be, you can change it. You can change your environment and you can become anybody you've wanted, like you've ever wanted to be. It's just,
Yeah.
you got to be proactive about it. And it's hard. It's not easy. It's like there's been so many tough days where I'm like, I just don't want to be around anymore. But I know that you just continually moving forward, it's so worth it. And it's so amazing to see yourself grow to and be in new heights than you've ever seen yourself. And I think that's like why I'm so passionate about these things is that like I've seen it in my own life and I've seen myself overcome so much. Like I look back at myself even 5 years from today and I'm like, how the heck? But I have a huge testimony that God plays a huge influence in my life and that he's helped me create opportunities I never could have in my
Yeah.
like than I ever could have. So
If I could just cut and paste that bit and send it out to every teenager in the world, you just road mapped out of how to have a meaningful life. You set goals. You saw what you wanted. You weren't a bobblehead doll that just took what came and whatever. And that's just all that. I grew up in this dysfunctional family and I have all these problems and this, that. You took the bull by the horns and you made your own path. And you found out about, it's about having who you surround yourself with. Absolutely. It's about having a goal of going to college. It's about understanding your personal vision. And I can tell you this, when you get to be my age, you will not be one of those people looking back and saying, if only I had. Because I think regret is the saddest word in the English language. Sometimes we can reassess after we feel regret. Like, oh, I wish I had done that differently. Okay, well, what will I do this time? Then it moves you to action. But you did not let any regret be anything more than just a lesson to move you forward. And I love that, Brooke. It's why you are so successful with what you're doing. It's why you are a rock star. It's why I would follow you anywhere because I know you're a visionary and you're setting goals and you're going to achieve them. If you said, Mary, I really feel like I'd like to do this and I'm going to be here next year, would you stand beside me in that? Absolutely. You are just that way. Absolutely. So, Brooke, I want to appreciate you for the time you spent this morning with you being a young entrepreneur, visionary, mover, shaker, to take 30 minutes out of your life today and talk to me really humbles me, and I'm so grateful for it. And I look forward to seeing all the wonderful things that you're going to create in your life and then in the lives of others. So if people want to stay in contact with you, you have a website? Do you have a social media for them to follow? What would be the best way?
So the best way to follow me right now could either be on two different platforms. It could be on Instagram for Utah.forthegirls or just at Brooke.Leone. I'm building up my website right now, so I can't provide a particular link right now, but yeah, I'd
Okay.
say either one of those two.
So we will include for the listeners, we'll include those links at the end of the podcast so you can find her on social media. And then, Brooke, when you do finish that website, send it to me and I will put it on the end of this podcast because we try and make these podcasts, evergreen so that people listen to them. And when people find me and they'll say, well, do I start at the beginning? I go, oh my gosh. There's 315 of these. Don't start at the beginning. Just scroll through what looks interesting to you and then just listen. So, they're evergreen. People may come back and find you a year from now. So let me know.
Okay, absolutely. I will. I'll make it a priority.
All right. Oh, my dear friends, thank you so much for being with me again today. And the time that you spend with me is so valuable to me, and I want it to be valuable to you. I spend so much time thinking on this and putting my heart in this and sharing my love for you and the desire for you to be your very best self. Because if you ever wondered what this life is about, that's it. It's for you to be your very best self. And when you walk in that position, then the world is before you to lift as well. Namaste.
Crafting a Meaningful Life.